The sun rose slowly over the military base, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. The SEAL forces were already training, their disciplined shouts echoing across the ground. Everything seemed normal, routine, and predictable. But today, something unusual was about to happen. A figure appeared at the gate, walking with a calm confidence that immediately drew attention. She was a black woman, dressed in standard military gear, but there was something about her that made everyone stop and stare. Her presence alone seemed to command the space around her. As she walked through the training ground, the soldiers whispered among themselves. Some tried to hide their curiosity, while others couldn't resist pointing out the most visible feature, a tattoo on her forearm. It was not just any tattoo. Its design was intricate, full of mysterious symbols that no one recognized. "Look at that," one young SEAL muttered under his breath. "What is that even supposed to mean?" A few others laughed, mocking her silently. "She thinks she belongs here," another said. "With that tattoo?" "Please." Despite the whispers and snickers, the woman remained unfazed. Her eyes scanned the training ground, calm and observant, as if she could read the thoughts of every soldier around her. She didn't respond to the mockery. Instead, she walked steadily toward the barracks, every step confident, deliberate, and purposeful. Some soldiers tried to act casual, but they couldn't stop glancing at her. The tattoo seemed to have a strange pull, drawing everyone's eyes. There was a pattern in it, some hidden meaning they couldn't understand. It made them uncomfortable, almost nervous. "Who is she?" One soldier asked quietly, not taking his eyes off the tattoo. "She's new," someone replied. "But I don't think she's like the others. Look at her stance. Look at her eyes." Even the commanding officers noticed her. General Harris, a man known for his strict discipline and sharp mind, paused in his walk across the field. His gaze fell on the tattoo. He frowned slightly, intrigued, almost recognizing something he hadn't seen in years. The woman stopped in the center of the training ground. She looked around at the soldiers who had been mocking her moments ago. She didn't smile, but there was a quiet strength in her expression. It was as if she carried a story in her tattoo, a story that no one could understand yet. A few of the SEALs tried to provoke her, whispering rude comments and snide jokes. "That tattoo won't save you in real combat," one said. "Hope you know what you're doing." But she didn't react. She simply adjusted her gear and continued walking, her calm presence now making the soldiers feel awkward. The confidence she carried was different from theirs. It was deeper, earned from something beyond ordinary training. As she approached the obstacle course, the camera, or rather, the narrator's focus lingered on the tattoo. It was strange and complex, full of lines and symbols that seemed almost alive. Some soldiers shivered without knowing why. The whispers grew quieter, replaced by a tense silence. General Harris stepped closer, observing quietly. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time in years, he felt a spark of recognition. There was history in that tattoo, a legacy that many had forgotten. He didn't say anything yet. He just watched, intrigued, waiting for the next move. The woman stopped at the starting line of the obstacle course. She looked at the soldiers around her, their doubt, their mockery, their curiosity all clear in their faces. She took a deep breath and rolled up her sleeve slightly, revealing more of the tattoo. Its intricate patterns glimmered in the sunlight, capturing everyone's attention. No one could explain why, but a strange energy seemed to fill the air. Every soldier felt it, even if they didn't understand it. The woman was no ordinary recruit. And this tattoo was more than just ink on skin. And with that, the first chapter of her story began. The SEAL forces thought they were ready to judge her, but they had no idea what was coming. The morning sun cast long shadows across the training ground as the SEALs prepared for their usual drills. The black woman, new to the base, stood at the edge of the course, her tattoo catching the sunlight. The soldiers could no longer ignore her presence. Whispers and sideways glances filled the air. "Who does she think she is?" muttered one of the younger recruits. "We've been here for months, and she just walks in like she owns the place." Another chuckled. "Yeah, that tattoo alone is ridiculous. Bet she can't even do a proper push-up." The woman didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her eyes scanned the group calmly, almost studying them. There was no anger in her gaze, only quiet focus. But that calmness only fueled the soldiers' arrogance. They thought it meant she was weak. They were about to find out they were wrong. "All right, everyone," one of the senior SEALs barked. "Warm up first. Let's see what you've got, rookie." The woman stepped forward. Her movements were precise, controlled, and confident. She executed every drill with perfect form. Push-ups, sprints, rope climbs, all with ease. The soldiers stared, mouths slightly open. The mocking whispers became nervous murmurs. She's good," one muttered, almost in disbelief. But a few soldiers weren't ready to admit it. "Lucky shots," one joked. "Let's see how she handles something real." The real test came quickly. The SEALs had set up a full obstacle course, designed to push recruits to their limits. Walls to scale, ropes to climb, and tunnels to crawl through. The young soldiers smirked at her, expecting her to fail. "Bet you won't make it past the first wall," one said confidently. The woman approached the first obstacle calmly. She leaped, grabbed the top, and pulled herself over with fluid strength. The soldiers froze. Then she moved to the next challenge, crossing it with effortless speed. Every obstacle, every challenge, she completed faster than anyone expected. By the end of the course, silence had fallen over the group. Even the most mocking soldiers couldn't hide their shock. She's not human," whispered one in awe. But the mystery wasn't just her physical skill. It was her tattoo. Every time she moved, it seemed to shimmer subtly in the sun. Some soldiers felt an unexplainable tension, a strange pull in the air around her. They began to wonder what those symbols meant. A few dared to comment, trying to mask their fear with humor. Okay, one said nervously. "Maybe the tattoo is lucky or something. Don't get cocky, all right?" The woman's eyes flicked to him. No words, no reaction, just a calm, knowing gaze that made his stomach twist. It was as if she could see right through him, read every doubt and fear he tried to hide. From the sidelines, General Harris observed quietly. His sharp eyes never left her tattoo. Recognition flashed briefly in his expression. There was something familiar about it, something he hadn't seen in decades. He remained silent, waiting for the right moment to act. Meanwhile, the soldiers, still processing their embarrassment, began to whisper among themselves. "She's trained differently. This isn't normal. We've never seen anyone like her. Yeah. And that tattoo," another added softly. "There's something about it." The woman didn't need to prove herself with words. Her calm strength, skill, and presence spoke louder than any argument. She had already earned a silent respect from those who watched closely, even if they weren't ready to admit it yet. As the training ended, she adjusted her gear and walked past the group, leaving the SEALs both amazed and unsettled. They had mocked her hours before, but now their laughter had turned into quiet curiosity, mixed with unease. Her tattoo, the soldiers realized, was more than ink. It carried history, mystery, and power, though no one yet understood its full meaning. General Harris, still observing from a distance, made a note to speak to her later. He knew the true story behind that tattoo, and he sensed that the woman standing there was not just a recruit. She was something extraordinary, something the SEALs weren't ready for. And just like that, the first layer of mockery peeled away, replaced with tension, curiosity, and suspense. The SEALs had underestimated her, but they were about to discover that their assumptions were only scratching the surface. The afternoon sun beat down on the SEAL training ground. The black woman, calm and focused, stood at the starting line of a new course, her tattoo catching the light again. The soldiers watched her closely, still shaken from her flawless performance in the morning drills. Their whispers were filled with both disbelief and nervous anticipation. One of the more confident SEALs, Lieutenant Mason, stepped forward with a smirk. "All right, rookie," he said, voice loud enough for the others to hear. "Let's see if you can handle something real. Not just push-ups and rope climbs. Something that actually matters." He gestured to the challenge set before them, a combination of obstacles designed for elite operatives. A high wall to scale, a narrow beam over a simulated pit, and a series of low tunnels to crawl through while carrying a heavy pack. Even the seasoned SEALs approached it cautiously. The woman didn't respond. She simply adjusted her gear, rolled up her sleeve slightly, and took a deep breath. The tattoo on her forearm seemed to glint under the sun, drawing subtle, uneasy glances from the soldiers. "Go!" Mason barked. She moved forward with fluid grace. Her first leap to the top of the wall was effortless, fingers gripping the edge as if the height meant nothing. The soldiers followed, some struggling, some barely managing, while she landed lightly on the other side, a calm expression on her face. "Begin the beam," Mason commanded next. The narrow beam wavered slightly under the weight of those before her, but she walked across with perfect balance. Each step was precise, measured, almost like a dance. The soldiers gasped, whispering among themselves. She's unreal," one murmured. The woman didn't stop. She dropped down to the tunnel section, crawling low and fast, her movements smooth and controlled. The weight of the pack didn't slow her, and she emerged on the other side with the same calm confidence she had shown all morning. By the time the last soldier completed the course, the mood had shifted entirely. Mockery was replaced by awe. Even Lieutenant Mason's smirk had disappeared, replaced with a mixture of respect and unease. "All right," Mason muttered, almost to himself. "She's not just good, she's something else." But the story wasn't over. It was the tattoo that kept the soldiers guessing. Every time she moved, it seemed to shimmer subtly. Some swore they saw symbols shift or glow, though they couldn't explain why. Others simply felt a strange energy in her presence. No one wanted to admit it aloud, but everyone felt it. From a distance, General Harris observed quietly. Recognition flashed in his eyes. That tattoo. He hadn't seen one like it in decades. The symbols were from a legendary unit he had once trained with, a unit known for elite covert missions that no one in the current SEALs could match. The woman standing there was not just any recruit. She carried the legacy of that unit on her skin. The soldiers, still processing their awe, began whispering again. "She's trained differently," one said. "This isn't normal." "She's hiding something," another added, staring at the tattoo. "I don't think we've seen anything like this before." The woman, sensing the tension, didn't need to prove anything. She had already shown her skill and her confidence. But there was more to come. She wasn't finished with the challenge yet. Lieutenant Mason, still uneasy, decided to push further. "Next challenge, all of you together. Follow her lead. Let's see if she can actually guide a team through this." For the first time, the woman smiled faintly. She nodded, signaling the soldiers to start. They hesitated, unsure how to proceed under her silent leadership. But step by step, she guided them, silently communicating, her actions precise and commanding. The soldiers moved as one, instinctively following her lead. By the end, the SEALs were exhausted, amazed, and deeply unsettled. They had mocked her hours before, and now they had no words to describe what they had seen. The woman stood at the center of the course, tattoo glinting in the sunlight, calm, composed, and almost untouchable. The soldiers realized something. She wasn't just skilled. She was a force, a mystery, and her tattoo, well, That tattoo carried a story that no one had yet uncovered. General Harris made a quiet note. Soon, everyone would know the truth. And the challenge had only just begun. Evening had settled over the SEAL base, painting the sky in dark shades of purple and gold. The training had ended, and the soldiers were returning to their quarters, exhausted yet still whispering about the black woman. Her skill, her calm confidence, and especially her tattoo, had left an impression that none of them could forget. The woman walked alone toward the quiet training hall. Her movements were calm, almost meditative. The tattoo on her forearm seemed to catch the last rays of the sun, its intricate symbols glowing subtly. She rolled up her sleeve slightly, as if revealing more than just ink on skin. General Harris, who had been watching from a distance all day, finally approached her. He walked slowly, his eyes fixed on the tattoo. The soldiers had never seen him this silent before. Usually, he was strict, commanding, always moving with purpose. But today, there was curiosity, even recognition, in his gaze. "Mind if I join you?" he asked quietly. The woman turned her head slightly, acknowledging him with a calm nod. She didn't speak, but her eyes were alert, as if she knew he had questions. General Harris stopped a few steps away. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. His eyes were drawn to the tattoo, and finally, after a long pause, he spoke. "This tattoo," he said slowly, "I haven't seen one like this in decades." The woman's lips curled into a faint smile, but she still didn't answer. Instead, she flexed her arms slightly, letting the symbols catch the light again. It belonged to an elite unit. The general continued, his voice low and serious. A group that operated in the shadows. Only the best of the best wore this mark. It wasn't just decoration. It was a symbol of skill, courage, and secrets. Secrets that few ever survived to carry forward. The woman's eyes met his. There was a spark of recognition there, mutual understanding. She didn't speak, but her presence said more than words ever could. General Harris slowly rolled up his own sleeve. A tattoo revealed itself, strikingly similar to hers. The soldiers who might have been watching from a distance would have been stunned. Two tattoos, identical, glowing subtly under the light. Symbols connecting the past to the present. "You carry more than skill," he said softly. "You carry history. And the responsibility that comes with it." The woman nodded once, almost imperceptibly. She had known this day would come. She had trained, endured mockery, and proven herself. But the full story of her tattoo, and what it meant, was still hers to reveal. For a moment, silence fell. The only sounds were distant birds and the faint rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. The SEALs who had mocked her earlier could not have imagined this moment. They had no idea that their new recruit was connected to a legacy far older and far more powerful than their imaginations allowed. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" General Harris asked, genuinely curious. The woman finally spoke, her voice calm, steady. "Some things must be earned. Respect, understanding, and trust. I did not come here to impress. I came here to serve, and to prove that I am worthy of this unit." The general studied her for a moment, nodding slowly. He knew she was telling the truth. The tattoo was a symbol of more than her past. It was a promise, a reminder of her strength, and a mark that carried secrets only the worthy could understand. As they stood there, the soldiers in the background noticed a subtle change in the atmosphere. Where there had once been doubt and mockery, now there was curiosity, even fear. The black woman was no longer just a new recruit. She was a living legend in their eyes, a mystery they could neither ignore nor fully understand. General Harris stepped back, giving her space. "Tomorrow you'll lead them through a field exercise. Show them what this tattoo truly means." She nodded, looking down at her forearm. The symbol seemed to pulse subtly, almost as if acknowledging the weight of the moment. The soldiers, though unaware of the full story, would soon witness her legacy in action. And in that quiet evening light, one thing was clear. The tattoo was not just ink. It was history, mystery, and power. And the black woman standing there was about to show the SEAL forces that they had underestimated her. And the story behind her tattoo had only just begun. The morning was thick with tension at the SEAL training ground. The soldiers, still buzzing from yesterday's events, gathered in small groups, whispering about the black woman and her mysterious tattoo. No one could stop thinking about the previous day, her skill, her calm presence, and the unsettling recognition from General Harris. "Do you think she's really that good?" one soldier asked, glancing at her as she prepared for the field exercise. "She has to be," another replied, his voice low. "There's something about her tattoo. It's not just a design." The woman stood silently, adjusting her gear. She didn't answer the whispers. She didn't need to. Her eyes scanned the group, calculating, observing, knowing exactly what each soldier was thinking. There was a quiet confidence about her, the kind that made even the bravest soldier hesitate. General Harris approached her, his steps measured. He stopped beside her and lowered his voice. "Today, they will see the truth. Let them understand what your tattoo represents." She nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. She had prepared for this moment. The day would reveal her legacy, not just to prove her skill, but to show the SEALs the meaning behind the symbol she carried. "All right, team," the general called. "Today, you follow her lead. Pay attention. This is more than just a field exercise." The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. Mockery was long gone, replaced by nervous anticipation. The black woman stepped forward, leading them into the dense forest behind the base. The terrain was rugged, uneven, filled with hidden obstacles designed to test every skill they had learned. As they moved through the forest, the woman guided them silently. Her gestures were minimal, but every movement communicated orders clearly. The soldiers, unsure at first, began to follow instinctively. Her expertise was undeniable. She led them through the toughest paths, crossing rivers, scaling cliffs, and navigating tight spaces with flawless precision. It wasn't just her physical skill that amazed them. It was the strategy. Every step she took was calculated, every decision precise. The soldiers realized she wasn't just performing, she was teaching, guiding, and testing them at the same time. At one point, they reached a clearing with a simulated threat, a mock ambush. The SEALs hesitated. Their confidence wavered. The woman stopped, turned to face them, and for the first time spoke clearly. "Positions," she commanded. "Follow my lead and trust your training. Don't doubt yourselves." Her voice carried authority, calm and unwavering. The soldiers moved into position, following her every instruction. When the simulated attack began, she was everywhere at once, signaling, guiding, correcting mistakes before they even happened. By the end of the exercise, the team had completed the challenge flawlessly. The soldiers stared in disbelief. They had seen her skill before, but now they understood the depth of her experience, the meaning behind her calm demeanor, and the silent power of her tattoo. General Harris stepped forward, addressing the team. "What you just witnessed is not just skill. It is a legacy. That tattoo represents the history of an elite unit, one that operated in the shadows, where only the best survived. And today, you have followed someone who carries that legacy forward. Respect her, learn from her, and understand that true leadership is not about mockery or ego. It is about skill, focus, and courage." The soldiers, humbled and amazed, exchanged glances. Those who had mocked her before were now silent, struggling to find words. The black woman stood at the center of the clearing, tattoo glinting subtly in the sunlight, calm and unshakable. For the first time, the SEALs understood the story behind the ink. They understood that she had trained, endured, and proven herself not for recognition, but because she carried a responsibility far greater than any ordinary recruit. And as the sun set over the forest, one thing was clear: the mockery was over. Respect had been earned. And the black woman, with her mysterious tattoo, had become more than just a recruit. She was a living legend, and her story had only begun. The next morning, the SEAL base buzzed with anticipation. Word of the black woman's skills and the secret of her tattoo had spread quietly among the soldiers. The mockery of the past was gone, replaced with a mixture of respect, curiosity, and a bit of fear. Everyone wondered what the day would bring, and they were about to find out. The general gathered the team at the training field, a complex terrain stretching over hills, rivers, and dense woodland. "Today," he said, voice firm, "you will undergo the final field exercise. Follow her lead. Trust her judgment. Pay attention. This is the real test of skill, teamwork, and courage." The woman stood at the forefront, calm and composed. Her tattoo glinted faintly under the morning sun. Soldiers looked at it one last time, some still awed, others still unsure if they fully understood it. They didn't realize how crucial it would become in the challenges ahead. The team moved into the field, navigating rugged terrain. The woman led them silently at first, her movements precise, almost effortless. She crossed rivers with ease, guided them over slippery cliffs, and avoided hidden pitfalls, all while keeping a sharp eye on the team. The soldiers, though exhausted, began to trust her instinctively. Then came the real challenge: a simulated ambush with multiple targets and hidden traps. Explosions echoed, smoke filled the air, and chaos was simulated perfectly. The SEALs hesitated, unsure where to move or how to act. The woman raised her hand, signaling them into formation. "Stay low. Move fast. Cover each other," she instructed. Her calm authority cut through the noise. Soldiers followed, moving with newfound precision, reacting to threats they couldn't even see clearly. Her tattoo seemed to pulse subtly, almost like a guiding force. Some soldiers felt it gave them confidence, though they couldn't explain why. Every decision she made was flawless, every command perfectly timed. By the end of the ambush, the team had neutralized all threats, emerging unscathed. The soldiers were panting, sweat streaming down their faces, but there was a collective sense of awe. They had just witnessed something extraordinary, skill and leadership beyond anything they had trained for. Lieutenant Mason, who had mocked her in the past, approached cautiously. I don't know how you did that," he admitted, voice low. "That tattoo, it's not just a mark. It's like you're connected to something bigger." The woman simply shook her head, her calm expression unwavering. "It's not the tattoo," she said softly. "It's training, focus, and understanding. The tattoo is a symbol, a reminder of what I've learned and who I am. Today, you've learned that real skill is in action, not appearance." General Harris stepped forward, his eyes serious but proud. This exercise was not just to test your physical ability. It was to test leadership, teamwork, and trust. You followed her today. That is why you succeeded. And that tattoo, he said, nodding to her arm, represents all of that: courage, legacy, and precision. The soldiers looked at her differently now. The laughter, the doubt, and the mockery of the past were gone. They had seen the truth, that she was not just a recruit, not just a fighter, but a master of strategy and skill. A living embodiment of the elite legacy, her tattoo represented Dot, as the sun began to set. Casting long shadows over the field, the woman stood tall. Her tattoo glimmered subtly, a silent reminder that the journey was far from over. The SEALs had passed the test, but so had she, in a different way. She had earned their trust, their respect, and their curiosity, and as the team headed back to the base, exhausted but victorious, one thing was clear: the black woman and her tattoo were no longer a mystery to fear. They were a symbol of what true skill, courage, and leadership looked like. A force that would shape the team in ways they had never imagined. The test was over. But the legend of the tattoo and the woman who bore it was only beginning. The sun had just begun to dip below the horizon, casting long golden shadows across the SEAL base. The soldiers, still recovering from the grueling field exercise, gathered in the main hall. Their faces were a mix of exhaustion, awe, and reflection. The black woman, calm as ever, stood at the center, her tattoo catching the last light of the day. No one laughed anymore. No one whispered mockery. The respect that had been earned in the forest and on the training ground hung heavy in the air. The soldiers who had once doubted her now looked at her with a mixture of reverence and curiosity. General Harris entered the hall, his steps deliberate. He paused at the front, scanning the room. The SEALs, standing at attention, straightened even further, sensing that something important was about to happen. This day, the general began. His voice steady, has shown us all something we should have understood long ago. Leadership is not about mocking others. Skill is not measured by appearances. Courage is not about bravado. It is about focus, precision, and trust. And today, he said, his gaze resting on the woman, we have witnessed all of that in one remarkable person. The soldiers, still catching their breath, listened in silence. Some glanced at each other, remembering how they had mocked her tattoo and underestimated her abilities. Shame and awe mingled in their expressions. She came here not to prove herself, the general continued, but to teach us all what true skill and leadership look like. That tattoo on her arm, he said, pointing subtly, represents more than ink. It represents legacy, courage, and the history of an elite unit whose lessons have guided her every step. The woman took a step forward, calm and composed. Her voice, soft but clear, echoed through the hall. I did not come here to earn applause or recognition, she said. I came here to serve, to protect, and to lead when it was needed. The tattoo is a reminder of who I am and what I represent. But true strength, she paused, looking around at the SEALs, comes from within, not from a symbol on the skin. A murmur of agreement passed through the hall. Soldiers who had once mocked her now nodded silently, absorbing her words. They realized that they had witnessed something extraordinary, and that the lessons she embodied were far greater than any drill or exercise. Lieutenant Mason, who had been the loudest in his mockery weeks ago, stepped forward slowly. His voice trembled slightly. I misjudged you, he admitted. We all did. That tattoo, it's not just a symbol. It's you. And what you've taught us today will stay with us. The woman nodded, a faint smile crossing her face. She didn't gloat, didn't respond with arrogance. She simply acknowledged the respect that had been earned through her actions, her calm leadership, and the hidden strength that the tattoo symbolized. General Harris stepped closer, placing a hand briefly on her shoulder. The SEAL forces have gained more than a skilled recruit today. They've gained a teacher, a leader, and a reminder that respect must be earned, not assumed. The soldiers, humbled and inspired, now looked at the woman differently. They understood that she was more than her tattoo. More than her skills, she was a living embodiment of courage, focus, and legacy. As the sun disappeared completely, the last light glimmered off her tattoo, faint but unmistakable. It was a silent reminder of the story behind her, the challenges she had overcome, and the respect she had commanded through patience, skill, and leadership. The black woman had arrived as a mystery, faced mockery and doubt, and now stood as a symbol of excellence and inspiration. The SEAL forces had learned a valuable lesson. True strength comes from skill, courage, and respect earned through action, not mockery or assumptions. And as the soldiers filed out of the hall, they carried with them the knowledge that they had witnessed something extraordinary. The tattoo was more than a symbol, it was a story. And the woman who bore it had become a legend, Her journey had reached a milestone, but the legacy of her tattoo and the respect she commanded would continue, inspiring all who followed her path.